What are you doing, you idiots? Let's go together and win, or I gonna leave you.
s1mple is so tilted that he tweets out, "I can't believe players that have this much experience can do things that are this stupid," and then deletes Blade off of Steam at the LAN and leaves the team.
You think the way the public perceives him is a fair assessment?
Not really.
No.
I think it's a lot worse.
A lot worse.
But yeah, I mean, he has a lot of maturing to do.
I knew what to expect. I knew him and Adren wouldn't get along very well. I knew it would probably be like a ticking time bomb, only a matter of time until it exploded, where s1mple made it either him or Adren. And, obviously, as you can see now, that was what it was.
Smoked out, bomb down, everyone chasing down, gets Adren, but the knife comes in! s1mple, of course, stabs him straight in the chest.
Double smokes in the same place there. s1mple just jumping casually into the site. He's going to fall down again. What is this clutch from s1mple? Are you serious? What is that? You can't do that, s1mple. That's not allowed. This is not FPL. This is a major.
Many people don't know this, but s1mple put his entire career on the line before he became the best player in the world. s1mple was born in Ukraine, a hotbed of Counter-Strike talent, and quickly rose through the local ranks as a young prodigy, earning a spot on Hellraisers in late 2014.
10 seconds, Molotov goes in the corner, he's going to try and see if he can look for the man in here, and Freiburg goes down, 5 seconds, 4 seconds, he's going to go straight for the plant, and he's going to get it as well. Now it's Get Right. He's actually revealed his position. s1mple's ready right here. He's got the triple. He just needs the timing. Get Right's there. He pre-fires and it's going to get it. s1mple! Oh my God!
But unfortunately for s1mple, his incredible rise also gave him an incredible ego.
Nice, s1mple, man. Shut up, you fucking old.
The rest of the year was difficult for s1mple. In the span of a few months, he went from making top 8 at a major with Hellraisers to being kicked off the team by the end of January. s1mple was notable for being a difficult teammate to work with.
Thank you for game, Dumas.
Thank you, s1mple.
Really nice to play with you. You're playing like fucking bitch.
s1mple's incessant toxicity got him in hot water with his team, his fans, and pretty much the entire CSGO community. He moved to Flipside Tactics at the beginning of February, but in less than 6 months he was sitting on the bench after his relationship with his teammates completely deteriorated.
s1mple is so tilted that he tweets out, "I can't believe players that have this much experience can do things that are this stupid," and then deletes Blade off of Steam at the LAN and leaves the team.
For the rest of 2015, s1mple jumped from team to team as a stand-in. His toxicity aside, finding a stable home was made even more difficult by the fact that he was banned from ESL run events until 2016, thanks to cheating in online matches before going pro. Now, if it wasn't obvious already, a lot of s1mple's obstacles were self-induced. It didn't matter how talented he was at the game, he was running out of organizations in his region willing to take a chance on him, but there was one team who thought he was worth the risk. Team Liquid is one of the most storied and accomplished organizations in CSGO history, but back in 2016, they were a long way from that. The lineup had some talented up-and-comers, but the team was in desperate need of more firepower, and they looked to s1mple as their solution. Now, at the time, that decision was met with a ton of skepticism from the community. But Liquid saw the upside in s1mple's potential, to the point where they were ready to fly him all the way from Ukraine to LA so he could realize it. This wasn't just a gamble for Liquid though. If s1mple wanted to chase his dream, he was going to have to venture into the unknown. So, what was it exactly about s1mple's move to NA that was such a big deal?
So even back in 2015, there were real conversations around the idea that s1mple could actually be, just in terms of raw mechanical talent, the best CSGO player in the world. The thing is, up until that point, his brief, promising career had pretty much been defined by carrying the lifeless corpse of his teammates up to the finish line and then yelling at them after they lost. On the other side of the world, you have Team Liquid, this perennial esports organization who's trying to take a crack at North American Counter-Strike, and they kind of really needed a ringer.
And that's where s1mple comes in.
Yeah, they took a risk on s1mple, right? This is a kid who he was 18, he had a reputation for being very toxic, very volatile, he'd been banned, but it was also a very big risk for s1mple as well. He sees a future for himself that's maybe outside of Counter-Strike, and he decides to go all in on CS. He leaves his family, he leaves his friends, his girlfriend, moves across the world, doesn't speak the language really, and yes, he's very talented, tremendously so, but does he have the composure to compete at the tier 1 level and succeed? And to go to North America and do that, a region that historically is not so much a flourishing, region for CS, that's a lot. s1mple risked as much going to NA as Liquid did in signing him.
If s1mple had bombed on Team Liquid, like completely bombed, it was total disaster, would that have been the end of his career?
It's hard to say that it would have been the end because, it's s1mple, right? But it could have really been a big blow. At this point, there's a lot of question marks around s1mple. We know he's talented, we know he's, tremendously gifted, but he's volatile, he's hard to work with. And if he goes to Liquid and it just bombs with, the superstar salary, right? And sort of like this clout that comes with coming and representing this org, it really could have hurt him in the long run.
And then on top of that, outside of CSGO, there's a thing with Eastern European players. A lot of them do want to go to Europe or to NA where they can have a better chance basically at being, the superstar and making the superstar salary for themselves, for their family, and maybe having a chance to even move their family out of, let's say, Ukraine to North America. So for s1mple, that would have been like an additional source of pressure as well, right? Because people at home are expecting him to do well, and if he doesn't, that's kind of a disaster, not just for his career, but for his life as a whole potentially.
There was one huge reason why s1mple was willing to take that risk though. He had a friend along for the ride. Due to visa issues, Hiko stood in for World Edit on Flipside Tactics for one tournament in 2015 at exactly the same time s1mple was with the roster. In that brief time, they became fast friends, close enough that Hiko helped recruit s1mple to Liquid a few months later.
He's a person who doesn't really respect almost anybody.
Yeah.
So to have that respect before even meeting him, I think him and I had like a good bond. And so showed up there, played really well. I think he liked the way we played and the way I played specifically. And yeah, we kept in touch ever since then to the point where we needed a fifth. And I said, hey, any chance if you wanted to move to NA? And he said, yeah.
But Hiko knew s1mple's history. He knew that his attitude could cause issues on the team.
I knew what to expect. I knew him and Adren wouldn't get along very well. I knew, it would probably be like a ticking time bomb, and only a matter of time until it exploded. Where s1mple made it either him or Adren, and obviously as we can see now, that was what it was.
Adren was one of the founding members of Team Liquid's CS:GO roster and their IGL, and he and s1mple couldn't stand each other.
The kid cried and left servers mid-practice, would never show up to the hotel room to practice. He's literally a useless teammate.
Now, we only have interview quotes to go on here, but by any account, s1mple and Adren had a tenuous relationship at best, one that occasionally leaked into the headlines.
Yeah, you can't have someone that's just going to be tearing the team apart and just, even if you're winning, is still going to be yelling at the team and bringing a team down. So, no, you need good positivity in the team to be winning, in my opinion.
Yeah, and you don't think s1mple brought that? You think the way the public perceives him is a fair assessment?
Not really.
No?
I think it's a lot worse.
A lot worse?
But, yeah, he has a lot of maturing to do.
It doesn't take an expert to see that at this point, things are pretty messed up on Team Liquid, weren't they?
Yeah, really messed up. Like, publicly criticizing a teammate like that, it's not something you see every day.
Okay, so what exactly was going on there?
Well, to this day, we still don't actually know the full story. I even interviewed Alige like a year, 2 years ago, and tried to get him to, own up to some more of that dirt, and
nothing.
Ancient history, man. And fair enough, it is, but they did not get along. That said, you gotta remember, this guy was brought in to basically upstage these North American players, right? He was the ringer, brought in by the org to do the thing that these other Liquid players couldn't. So I think it's sort of understandable understandable that they would not maybe have met him on sort of the warmest of terms. The problem really is that back then, s1mple, he just imploded after losses, right? His results were so good, even though he was in this strange region and there was a language barrier and he was sort of alienated and alone, the guy was s1mple. He was fragging out all the time. And so it's really easy when your results are great to sort of pick on maybe one or two other players who are not performing, and it just creates this really volatile, toxic environment.
Yeah, I mean, everyone kind of presumes that toxic teams don't produce good results, right? That's the obvious thing. Was that the case with Team Liquid?
The results were okay early on because, again, this roster was actually pretty stacked, and there was definitely some promise there. But it was really hard to tell whether they could go far when, you know, the star player of the team was essentially at odds with everyone else on the roster.
But the hate and the whole bad attitude sort of narrative that was surrounding s1mple, I think a lot of it came from the fact that, again, in Eastern Europe, there's a lot of sort of focus on this macho culture. You have to be like a real man, showing emotion is frowned upon, etc. So if s1mple found himself in a situation where he was being criticized by his teammates, or really any criticism that would be coming his way would be kind of like an attack against this core set of values that he would have had since he was a child. So I think there's a reason why you don't really see as many clips of s1mple crying in any other era besides his, time on Team Liquid, because he was really put in a very super vulnerable position, probably the most vulnerable he's ever been, right? And he felt the need to defend himself.
Just a few months after s1mple joined, that tension boiled over. Adren was kicked and replaced by Kusta. Team Liquid doubled down on their risky decision to pick up s1mple. They chose the volatile wonder kid over their more seasoned IGL, because despite all of s1mple's problems off the server, in the game, he was delivering results.
Now they can even take a lead before the half's over if they keep playing this right.
He lands that first shot with the scout, goes with the 5-7 onto Bugsy. Trying to go for the what? God, gets the kill on the Tarek with the jump scout.
s1mple's beef with Adren essentially forced him off the team, but due to Valve's rules, his replacement, Kusta, wasn't allowed to play in Columbus. That meant Adren was back on the roster for the Major, which obviously wasn't ideal. After a mediocre finish at the previous Major, Liquid had to play in the offline qualifiers for the Columbus Major, and they were hoping s1mple would get them through it. But first, he had to overcome the team that kicked him and started his journey to North America, Hellraisers.
Stiko moving his way into pit with a nice snapshot onto Hiko, takes his head off, and is going to have some pressure put on him by the CZ on s1mple. 3v3 now.
Yeah, and retaking with two ops is going to be tough. I guess that's why s1mple pulled out that CZ to get it done. And Adren and s1mple, op shot after op shot. Hiko's going to make contact and B gets one and dies. s1mple returning op shots, missing two though. That's not characteristic of s1mple with the op. He makes up for it there, bring it down 0 on the cross. It's up to Stiko, 1 versus 2. He's already got 1 kill on this round. This is for all the marbles. OT or Liquid to the Major. What's it going to be here? 10 seconds. Hiko gets the bomb down. Will Stiko take one of them out on the cross? No, not going to go for it. Oh, and he looks up to the window. Hiko gets the headshot and advances another team to the MLG Major.
s1mple did it. He qualified for the Major, but Liquid didn't look that strong in the qualifiers, and Columbus was only just over a month away. And not many people were confident about Liquid's chances. Questions circled, and this was do or die for s1mple. Thousands of miles away from home, with one opportunity to prove the risk he and Liquid took was worth it.
That's starting things off now. The crossfire has been established, but Hiko's taking care of work all on his own. s1mple, he's the perfect bait.
Fnatic trying to see if they can make their way in, but they're not expecting 3 people to be here. The stack is working. s1mple picking up a kill. JW going down. It's s1mple for the triple. Liquid.
Smoked out, bombed down, everyone chasing down, gets a trap, but the knife comes in! s1mple, of course, stabs him straight in the chest.
Team Liquid emerged undefeated from the group and then steamrolled CLG to earn a spot in the Major semi-finals, the furthest a North American team had made it in 3 years. But their next match ended in disaster.
Here he comes once again. The first base is Adren. He's going to hit the ground there. It's Cold. Oh, what? A jumping double from Cold! What is going on right now? How does he do this?
It was just so dumb.
the jumping up.
Just the most brainless play in CSGO history, right? Like Liquid are up 15-9, they're on a real buy, they have real guns, this map is in the bag, and then coldzera just inexplicably goes white van, jumps, presses left click, and just undoes an entire dynasty to be. I mean, if RNGesus is not on his side, which it definitely was for that play, I think Liquid close out that map no problem.
I mean, it has to be the single most famous CSGO play of all time, right?
And if you make me watch it again, I'm going to need another drink. The play just shattered Liquid's mental. Like, s1mple could be the greatest CSGO player of all time. He probably is. But nobody, no human being can come back from something like that. And you know what the worst part was?
What?
The worst part is that somehow, some way, Liquid rally after losing that first map, go into the second map, go up 15-6, and then throw that map as well. The jumping op cursed them. It just invaded their mind, their thoughts, their being. I don't know. But the major run ended as soon as coldzera pressed left click, and Luminosity deserved to win that major, if only because God intervened and made it happen.
The loss stung for Team Liquid, but it hurt s1mple more than anyone. He put everything on the line to join Liquid and play at this major. He left his life behind in Ukraine, and he couldn't keep going. Just a few weeks after Columbus, s1mple announced he'd be taking a break. Then Team Liquid's director of esports clarified that while s1mple was back in Ukraine sorting out his visa, he realized he didn't want to leave. He asked to be transferred to a European team. s1mple rode the bench for 2 months, playing with a Ukrainian stack called Worst Players. But his time with Team Liquid wasn't over just yet. They needed him for one more job. The first of s1mple's last 2 tournaments with Liquid was the ECS Season 1 Finals, where they were eliminated by Luminosity and G2. But the next tournament was a big one, ESL 1 Cologne 2016. s1mple's 3rd appearance at a major and his first ESL event since his ban expired. Liquid needed a win, even if it meant taming s1mple's toxicity once again.
I would be lying if I said the team's atmosphere was perfect with him even the last month. There were a lot of times when people were just fighting, and it was most of the time always s1mple. Personality problems, no interest in practicing sometimes.
Off the back of their performance with s1mple in Columbus, expectations were high in Cologne, and Liquid met those expectations after emerging from their group nearly unscathed.
Now he's actually stacked up next to them. What is going on? Finally, Chris and Speedy coming through with a couple of kills, but s1mple and JDM are still alive. It's a 2-on-3, and there's JDM with the first kill on next. s1mple helping out, and that's going to be the round. 16-6 as Liquid take out Mousesports.
Once again, fans started to believe, and s1mple gave them the farewell performance of a lifetime.
He'll commit to the plant. No, baits it out smartly so. Gets Edward, and he knows that they're trying to wrap back around onto him. Smoke to allow him the freedom of movement, and also the chance to peek. Spots the gun barrel of Zeus. He's going to try and catch him out, lurk up closely. He sees him coming. Nice shot by s1mple. There's 2, 1 to go. Seized. Back turn. They don't know they're there. Is he going to stop? He doesn't. He pulls it back.
Double smokes in the same place there. s1mple just jumping casually into the side. He's going to fall down again. Why is this clutch from s1mple? Are you serious? What is that? You can't do that, s1mple. That's not allowed. This is not FPL. This is a major.
But as soon as he gets spotted, he has so many players to take down, 2 of which are very low. There's the first one. He gets immediately tagged in the face. This is so terrible right now for Crims. There is surely no way out as they toy with him. Nitro will get the finishing kill, and Team Liquid will eliminate Fnatic. They will be playing in a grand final against SK. What the hell just happened?
s1mple helped Team Liquid to a major grand finals, the furthest a North American team had ever gone. But there was a familiar opponent waiting for them on the other side of the server. The former Luminosity Gaming roster moved over to SK Gaming just ahead of the tournament. Not only were they the favorites and defending champions, they were the team that destroyed Liquid with the most unlikely comeback in CSGO history back in Columbus. And despite s1mple's Herculean hard carry performance, SK Gaming came out on top.
And now it's just all in the details. Easy for SK to pick it up here. Trying to walk through the smoke, but it's just not going to happen. SK Gaming, 2nd major championship in a row. They are your winners.
That was obviously a huge tournament. What was the general feeling in the community around s1mple at this time?
I mean, the guy was a legend. People basically instantly recognized the falling off to be one of, if not the greatest play in CSGO history. And I mean, the guy took North America to a major final, which at the time was a very big deal.
So the results were looking incredible, I think it's fair to say. What about the old toxicity? Was that still around, still lingering for s1mple?
s1mple grew up, right? Like, today he's still a perfectionist, and you will still see headlines from time to time about how maybe he's a little bit hands-on when it comes to his teams. But the reality is that he learned that to win, you have to bolster your teammates, not berate them. Like, you can still be the best player on the server, fixate over every little detail, and leave no room for imperfection, and not be an absolute nightmare to work with. But he also just became like an actual role model. He's basically the face of CSGO. He is this name that anyone who knows very little, if anything, about CS will be able to say, oh, I mean, that's s1mple, right? I know who s1mple is. And in being the face of a game, it's pretty important that it be a good face. And I think once upon a time, there probably would have been some question marks around s1mple as sort of, you know, a spokesperson for your esport. But now I think it's fair to say that he is, you know, he's a real force for positivity, right? Standing up for the game, for his country, for just human values that I think for a time he sort of, you know, maybe wasn't the best day-to-day embodiment of. Yeah.
Kind of feels to me like s1mple kind of had to go through all of this in a way to become the person we know today. Like he had to go to North America to maybe grow up a little bit. Is that fair to say?
Well, I mean, like, yeah, the mentorship he got from Hiko, he got to play on the biggest stages on Counter-Strike. North American fans kind of got to know him as a player and as a person, I suppose. The important thing there is also that he got to see what it's like to be on the other end of the toxicity. And I think that probably helped to shape him as a person and, you know, be better in the future.
That was the end of s1mple's time with Team Liquid. But what we didn't know then was that it was the launching pad for the man who would become CSGO's greatest ever player.
Thanks for watching. If you want more content like this, hit the sub button and ring the notification bell. For unique bite-sized videos you won't find anywhere else, hit us up on our Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.